Hey, so with all the craziness in DC, taking time to connect with your neighbors just feels good. So don't miss District Bridge's Art All Night, DC's biggest arts festival. It celebrates creativity, culture, and community, and it's returning September 12th and 13th across all 8 wards. You can find celebrations by District Bridges in Mount Pleasant, Cleveland Park, Lower Georgia Avenue, Logan Circle, and U Street. Dance to local bands and support local artists in your favorite neighborhood restaurants and outdoor spaces. It's way more important than ever to show our local business owners and artists that we see them and we support them. See the full lineup at districtbridges.org/artallnight.
What if making dinner was as easy as pressing play on your favorite song? It can be when you plug into an electric induction stove. Whether you're queuing up the meatloaf or the black eyed peas, an electric induction stove isn't just faster, it can save you energy and money too. And right now, the DCSU is offering a hot $800 off. Income qualified, no cost. These rebates won't last. Get them while funding's still available. So make the switch today. You've got the power! Visit dcscu.com/electric. Today on CityCast DC. So I don't think I need to tell anybody that there's been a lot going on in the city lately. Yes, things have been heavy, but I am not letting that keep me from enjoying this city that I love, the city that I call home. So from new restaurants with bugs to checking out subversive art while it's still legal, here are our top picks for what to do in DC this September. And after the interview, we've got a community-oriented DC resident here to tell us all about Art All Night coming up and hosted by our sponsor, District Bridges. It is a fabulous way to connect to DC's wonderful art community, so stay tuned. It's Tuesday, September 2nd. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Hey, co-host Michael Schaefer.
Hey, co-host Bridget Todd.
Hey, Annie Reese.
Hi, Bridget Todd. Hi, Michael Schaefer.
Hey, new executive producer Annie Reese.
Yes, new EP. I mean, folks know Annie by now, but yes, thank you for being here. Happy September. We made it.
Barely.
Bridget, a long time ago when I was defending DC summer, you once said you liked fall so much because you feel about it the way people in like Chicago or Minneapolis or something must feel about spring, which is to say you've just been through this hell and now all of a sudden everyone's back outside again.
Yes.
I love that.
And although I am a defender of DC summer, I completely can relate to that feeling because like we were thinking about this episode, what we do, and I realized that in summer, I tend to not leave my neighborhood very much. So, and I sort of think like, well, you know, when it's fall and it's a little cooler outside, then I'll drive out to eat or something.
Every single time that I'm sweating it up in DC summer, I think about that horrible reveal that you were like, I actually enjoy this. Oh, you know that feeling of being hot and humid and sweaty? I like this.
You know that feeling when you think you know someone and then you find out?
Mike is the kind of, if you have not heard that episode, one of our first episodes we did together, Mike said his favorite season in DC was summer. And I have never forgotten that about you. I feel like that told me so much about who you are in the world, Mike.
But what did it tell you?
Just that you are an enjoyer of things that other people do not like.
You know, there's a lot of like marriage counseling that could probably have been saved by that statement.
You're an iconoclast.
Well, I aim to please.
So welcome to CityCast DC. If you are new to this show is really all about feeling more connected to your community, even if that's happening in the worst season of DC, summer, but especially now that it's September and you can actually leave your neighborhood and go for a little walk somewhere, yeah?
True that. And we talk a lot about like heavy stuff, and this summer we had no shortage of that, but we also aim to connect people with their city, which means figuring out what to do, where to go, how to get a good deal, how to eat at a place that not everyone else knows about yet, and otherwise feel like a savvy local. We aim to be your cool older sibling here.
Well, I actually just had dinner at a new place last night that I felt very cool about. Have you all been to Chicatana in Columbia Heights?
No, I haven't.
I have not.
So I just learned this. Chicatana means ant, And they actually on the menu have ant and grasshopper foods. And so I ate an ant taco, which you might think sounds gross, but it was really, really interesting. Apparently, it used to be a restaurant that was further down on 14th Street, but now they have a new location. Do you know when you go out to eat and you're thinking, that was just a good experience. The service was good. The food was really interesting. It wasn't that expensive. That was one of those experiences that I had last night, which as a crank in DC, it's rare that I go out to dinner and I don't leave with some sort of a complaint. Even if everything is pristine, I'm thinking, well, this one thing could have been better. Did not experience that at Chicatana.
What nationality of cuisine is it?
It's Mexican food. So I would recommend if folks are interested in trying it out. Their tacos were divine, and some of them were even just $4 or $5. So we just ordered a bunch of different tacos. Do recommend. Their El Pastor was probably my favorite, but the grasshopper and ant tacos, you might be thinking that sounds unusual. It actually was very good.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Well, it's weird because, one of my longtime DC favorites is Tip Cow, also on 14th Street in Columbia Heights, and also known for it has two menus. It has like sort of a regular menu and a so-called jungle menu that has things like ants and other non-traditional proteins. So maybe Columbia Heights is like the ant-eating capital of the region.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. I once had a really embarrassing experience at Tip Cow where I was on a first date and I was biting into what I thought was a green bean, but it was definitely a little pepper. And I could see my date in slow motion being like, no. And the reaction that I had was very big. And without even being asked, somebody from the staff brought me a glass of milk. That's how big of a reaction I had to this pepper.
Did that lead to a second date or?
You might be surprised to find out it did not. That was the last time we saw each other. At Mosaic Theater, royalty, fate, and passion collide in the thrilling new play, Dodi and Diana. This is not just another historical drama. Egyptian actress Samira and her husband Jason are marking the 25th anniversary of the tragic deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. But what starts as a night of royal obsession and remembrance quickly becomes something much deeper. Their own marriage is put to the ultimate test as they dive into a complex exploration of love, sacrifice, the stories that history chooses to remember, and the ones it doesn't. Dodi and Diana runs September 4th through October 5th at the Atlas Performing Arts Center. You can get tickets now at mosaictheater.org. That's mosaictheater.org.
For nearly 40 years, Food and Friends has delivered hope and health across the DC region with home-delivered, medically tailored meals for neighbors living with serious illnesses like HIV/AIDS, diabetes, cancer, and more. This October, you can be part of that mission by joining Move for Meals, a month-long fitness and fundraising challenge. Walk, run, or bike wherever you are. Track your time exercising via the fitness app Strava and raise funds for neighbors in need. Every $10 you raise provides one medically tailored meal, ensuring that more people facing serious illnesses receive the nutrition that they need to heal. Help us reach our goal of 20,000 meals. Sign up today at p2p.onecause.com/moveformeals or visit foodandfriends.org and help us deliver hope and health one meal at a time. Wait, so I got to ask about, since we're talking about going out to eat in Columbia Heights, strolling around, maybe before or after dinner, and I just ask about the elephant in the room or the heavily armed Mississippi guardsman in the room. When you're going out these days, how does it feel to go out and amidst what's going on? Does it change the dining experience appreciably? And is it going to make you, is the idea like we should go out despite this, or like, ew, I don't want to be out around that?
Oh, what a good question. So Chicatana is right in my neighborhood. And I think that I did have an experience where, there's a newer restaurant right next to it called Trini Vibes. It has a lovely little outdoor area. And Chicatana has an outdoor area. I had an experience where I have not seen a National Guard presence this far down in Columbia Heights. And there was just a night when I went out that everybody was enjoying the patios, everybody was walking around. And I just felt almost it just felt good to see people out enjoying a neighborhood like Columbia Heights. Because I just think that as someone who lives there, it's sort of been at the forefront of a lot of what's been going on. And just seeing people out and about despite that made me feel really good and proud of my neighborhood. And I guess it's easy for me to say because I haven't gone down to you or some of the areas where they have had a more visible National Guard presence. But I don't know, people just enjoying the neighborhood like normal made me feel really good and really normal for the first time in a couple of days.
Well, according to Stephen Miller, they've never been able to go out in the neighborhood in their entire
People
lives.
are finally wearing their watches again. Thank God.
I know. Honestly, there's so much to be angry about with this whole thing, but something about that, it's like gaslighting. I have lived in this city for most of my adult life. You're telling me I've never gone to dinner? You know, it's like it's the gaslighting on top of everything else. The gaslighting about what we know we experience that truly makes me so angry.
I know. I think that this kind of split screen is going to continue because there is this really odd element of like, I do think it's, still important if you, feel safe doing so, like go out with friends, like enjoy your city, your community, your neighbors. But there also is this odd element of like, maybe you're doing that and then a couple blocks away, there's this kind of like altercation or just like massive presence and there are like multiple arrests happening. Like I just feel like we're kind of watching this weird split screen continue to play out in the district. And that is unfortunately going to be continuing in September, at least until we see where things are at with like their 30-day extension.
Have you all gone out still? Like, what has your life looked like on the backdrop of all of this?
Honestly, when I've gone out, one night I was out at the wharf, and yes, I saw I think they were ATF people walking around. It seemed like, the whole thing seemed pretty dumb and performative, and also the wharf is, I believe, private property. So, like, they're effectively being security for someone's private property. The biggest culinary-related question, at least in my neighborhood in Upper Northwest, is like, should you still call DoorDash? Like you're inviting someone to trouble, and we've all seen, we've done episodes on this, but the DoorDash drivers heavily Venezuelan. We've all seen what's happened with some of them, so that like there's that kind of level of questions, which is like definitely first world problems. Like, gee, should I order really cheap delivery or not? But it's like it underlies something like really deadly serious.
Well, I think it was a council member for Ward 4. She put out a statement on Blue Sky that basically explicitly said, if you can swing it, don't order those services right now because of exactly what you said, Mike.
Which I guess is another reason to go out.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of DoorDash, Uber Eats to begin with. I think that delivery drivers, this is a community that I want to support, but I don't really know what to be doing right now to support them. Like, is it supporting them to not order DoorDash? Is it more supportive to order DoorDash? This is not a question I can answer.
I think that that's right. And I think that's part of the difficulty of this moment, but finding places where you can support different organizations or reading your local news and finding out like what's happening where, I think is the best that a lot of us can do, just staying present and staying aware.
Annie, in the midst of all this, have you been able to explore any new places or new spots in DC?
Well, there's a spot that I'm really excited to explore. It just opened at the tail end of August. It's called Chai Pani, and it is a new Indian restaurant that comes from Asheville, North Carolina, James Beard Award winning. It's going to be in the Union Market area. I already made a reservation for mid-September I actually did this. I haven't told my friends this yet. I made a reservation for 10. I was like, sure, I'm just going to invite people later. We can always change the reservation, but I'm really excited about that. I think DC already has a lot of great Indian food, but it's also one of my favorite cuisines. And I recently went to India for a friend's wedding and I just kind of can't get enough. So a lot of us are going to go. But I think that, a lot has been made of a lot of restaurants closing, and that is true. But there is in this city still a constant influx of, new places, new flavors. And I do find that all really exciting. So I'm very excited to go to Chai Pani in mid-September.
Yeah, I'm in the same culinary moment, I guess, as you, because I am really pumped. I haven't been there yet, but I'm really pumped to go to Tapori, which is on H Street Northeast. It's an Indian street food establishment. There's been a bunch of those lately. This aims to sort of span the subcontinent. Yeah, I lived in India when I was a little kid, and like at our school on special occasion days or whatever, they'd have like a guy making dosas. And, I have a sort of reflexive recoiling at like quote unquote street food places where it's like, that'll be $55 for your
Don't
prefix.
even get me started.
I mean, it'd be as if you went to a different country and they were like authentic DC street food and they were selling half smokes for like $25.
Yeah.
You'd be like, all right.
I'm insulted and
Maybe
poor.
it's the greatest half smoke in history, but come on, guys. I'm also pumped about, DC has a pretty large West African population in the region, but not that much restaurant food has followed. But a fast casual Nigerian spot called Newly has opened in the food hall, which we just discussed the bad times for food halls in some neighborhoods, but the food hall that's under 18th and K. And it is the first U.S. location of a chain, but I'm excited for that. And that's, it's sort of a weird spot. It's not that far from the World Bank. They will have to please genuine, actual Nigerians, which is just to say they're going to have to be pretty good.
It's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite kinds of cuisine, because everybody thinks that they have the most authentic jollof rice or whatever. I'm really curious to know if it's pleasing the crowd.
We have to report back, both of you.
Right. The entire future of the food hall industry could be riding on it.
Where are you guys excited to go this month? Do you have any good event recommendations or places you're excited to explore?
I've been, when I look at the kind of culture calendar of museums and like sort of large institutions in Washington, I can't help but think like, is this the last time we're going to see this? So the thing I am, this month was supposed to be the opening of the Amy Sherald show at the American Art Museum, which she canceled because she felt that she was being
painted
censored.
Michelle Obama's portrait.
Exactly. And there was a trans Statue of Liberty that the current Smithsonian leadership found a little bit too hot for their taste or for the taste of the White House. And it was a sort of an awful thing, the idea that like, this is an artist who's had a lot of mainstream success. This is not some weirdo, right? But that we're at a moment where people feel uncomfortable coming to the large government-run institutions of Washington. So at the National Gallery this month, opening at sort of the end, I guess September 21st, is a show, Photography in the Black Arts Movement, 1955 to 1985. There's been a lot of attention to the Black Arts Movement, less so to the photographers in their midst. So I'm really pumped for that show. But one of the reasons I'm pumped, I'm sad to say, is that like a little part of me wonders, like, when's the next time we'll see a show like that in the sort of new DC? There's also, in the same vein, a show that's been up since last November. It's really good. The Shape of Power: Stories of Race in American Sculpture at the American Art Museum. It closes, scheduled closing on September 14th. But again, there's a kind of like, is it going to just be like, where are we headed with stuff?
I mean, fascist regimes never try to control art and censor what kind of art people can enjoy.
It is this really awful thing to watch these institutions that we either love going to or are ideal for taking out-of-town family to. And I don't really know exactly where we go from here, but I think you're right, Mike, to point out, see these shows while you can, but also it's a really tricky time for navigating these institutions that used to feel like relatively neutral and suddenly don't anymore. My recommendation is a little bit more corn-fed. I am just coming back from a week in Minnesota where I went to the Minnesota State Fair, which, for those who don't know about that, is this like massive state fair for weeks and weeks and thousands of people. DC also has a state fair. It is much smaller, but it is on Saturday, September 6th in Bryant Street. And one thing I liked about the Minnesota State Fair is that it's not all just fried food. It's not all just like eat a bunch of fried stuff and then feel terrible afterward. It's pretty weird. And I think that you have an ideal state fair experience when you embrace the weird, when you find, all of the different places. Like, for example, I was looking at the DC State Fair, all of these culinary contests they've got. There's a lot of agricultural contests. There's a lot of artistic contests for best ceramics, best fabric and textiles, kids art, a lot of like baking contests. But there's something actually, I think this is a moment where we need community more than ever. And there's something really gratifying about watching this kind of homegrown art, whether it's edible or not, and kind of this zany creativity from people. So I am going to be checking that out on Saturday, September 6th.
Are you saying you went to the Minnesota State Fair and didn't eat anything fried?
Oh, I definitely did.
And can you eat fried things at the DC State Fair?
You can eat fried things at the DC State Fair. Absolutely. I would recommend, I think to me, the ideal State Fair experience is you go, you get a couple beers off the bat, which allows you to be much more chill about the crowds. And then you kind of pick your vendors and you kind of snack on stuff throughout the day, but also just like not kind of skimping on stuff that is not as flashy originally, or it doesn't appear as flashy.
I'm very excited to find out that DC has a state fair. I did not know this. But Annie, I do feel like you're kind of underselling the Minnesota State Fair a little bit. Because I have seen the stuff that they have at Minnesota. It almost seems like it's not a real place to me. The stuff that they have at this state fair. It's a different world. I saw this picture that was $3 all-you-can-drink milk at the Minnesota State Fair. Stuff that you're thinking, who came up with this?
Wait,
how do they have this?
That's the one where there's like busts of all the county beauty queens made out of butter? Is that right?
The very same. It is.
Yes.
Do we have county beauty queens in the District of Columbia?
I don't think so. This is why we need statehood. No, there's seed art was maybe my favorite thing at the Minnesota State Fair. I'm not sure if we have that at DC. I feel like everyone listening, maybe my cool meter is going way, way down. But I think that it's great to find community where you can.
We need to do a Minneapolis DC State Fair crossover episode of CityCast DC.
Ooh, let's do it.
Hey, when someone else's negligence changes your life forever, figuring out what to do next can feel overwhelming. You need lawyers who won't back down. The NACE Law Group has been winning serious injury and wrongful death cases in D.C. for decades. They don't just settle, they fight for real justice, and they're not afraid to take cases to court to get it. You might remember them as Paulson and Nace. It's the same trusted lawyers, just a new name. If you need someone in your corner, reach out to NACE Law Group for a free, no-obligation consultation. Visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com or call 202-463-1999. That's 202-463-1999.
Well, kind of in the same vein of Mike's thing that he's interested in checking out this September, I'm really excited for the Films on the Green screening of Amelie. Have you all ever seen that movie?
Love that movie. And all of the different bangs it spawned. She's the only one who can pull off micro bangs.
Oh my God. Yeah, if you go to this screening, you might think that you can get micro bangs. We've all been through it. We're a little bit older than you, probably. You can't.
Don't do it.
But they're doing a screening of this movie at the National Mall on September 17th, and I'm very excited for it because, yeah, it's a movie that when I was a young, artsy college student, this was a movie that was very important to me. And I think there's something about sitting outside on the National Mall watching kind of a cute, arty film will feel good at a time when, yeah, it doesn't feel super good right now to be in DC. These things that used to feel either neutral or that you might feel proud of have become the backdrop for some of this stuff that just feels so heavy and odious. And so I'm really excited to kind of change the conversation around this a little bit. I think particularly for me, these photo op staged images of National Guard with the monuments behind them and such, just it feels like they're hijacking these things that are the backdrop of my experience in DC. And I'm really, really interested in trying to reclaim them for myself and associate them again with positivity.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking a lot about too, and is something that I want to kind of as my tip for September. I think in general, September is a time where the summer has been so crazy. Maybe a lot of us have been doing a lot of travel. And September, you kind of settle back into maybe a routine and things just like calm down a little bit in some ways. And I think I've been thinking a lot about how to just kind of create a sense of community, even within a community I already have, or within like neighbors that maybe I don't talk to as much. I had neighbors recently that did this dinner party idea that I thought was really lovely, where they did a dinner party roulette. Everyone's name got added to a hat and they would choose 4 names and do a dinner once a month. And it was a really, interesting way to get to meet and have like deep conversations with people that were their friends, but you maybe didn't know. But then it kind of like is creating just, it snowballs into, like meeting a bunch more people and creating a bunch more deeper connections. And I've just been thinking a lot about that in this moment we're in. And so I think that, my tip for September would be find ways to feel really connected to something that you really love about this city.
I think so much has happened the last few years that has really sort of like disrupted the way, particularly people in Washington form communities. This is a city where, for better or worse, a lot of people feel very defined by and very into their jobs. But, between COVID and years of working from home, your social relationships with people who share your jobs has really been weakened, I think. There's just a lot less people sitting next to each other and therefore a lot less people going out for a drink or a coffee after work. Now we're in this moment of a lot of people losing their jobs. Again, that's an isolating and disconnecting thing. And obviously there's this weird sense of menace about the city and sense of threat. Gee, is my property value going to plummet because everyone's losing their job? I think that the last bit, the current moment, at least in my neighborhood, has there's actually a lot more action on the neighborhood email list and stuff with people saying things they've seen and so on. And in a weird way, there's a nice quality of that, of remembering these are your neighbors and they're the people who are going through the same thing you are, whether it's at your school or your neighborhood or your job or whatever.
That's so true, Mike. And I think something about the way that you put that reminds me of, I don't know if I would call it a tip, but just something that I was reminded of recently, which is what's happening can make you feel powerless, but we are not without agency. Even if it's, I'm going to make a point to go to a free DC cop watching seminar, or I'm going to make a point of when I see something, I'm going to make sure everybody knows what's going on the neighborhood email list or listserv, right? It may seem small, but I really think staying checked in and connected to that part of you that understands that you have agency, that we are not just, it can feel like we are past, that we have to be these, people that all of this stuff is happening to because we don't have statehood, but we always have agency. There's always something we can do. And I've really been struggling to stay connected to the part of me that is active and engaged, even amidst everything going on. The powers that be would love it if we felt like we had no agency and no power. And that's why it's so important to embrace the idea that we do.
We've talked a lot about this sort of vibe of okay, I'm here living my normal life, but 2 blocks over, maybe somebody who I don't know, who's not here legally, who doesn't have a big support system, is getting rolled by people in masks. And that creates a very weird vibe. And I think that, one of the things that's probably good for you and good for your community is to just actually try to be out and be present in your community. If you see stuff happening that you don't like, by all means, ask what is happening and record it and remember it. If you see stuff happening that you do like, similarly. But this sense, I don't think it's good for any community anywhere when there is a feeling that stuff is happening in the darkness. Whether that stuff is criminal activity or unethical behavior by the government or whatever. And, the best way to not have stuff happen in the darkness is to be there, to be walking around and be out in your world.
It reminds me of something else that you once said that I think was against the grain, Mike, but turned out to be true. Everybody disparages Karens. I am proudly kind of a Karen. I think this is a time where we could use some Karening for good. If you are able to, and you see someone being harassed, or somebody who is vulnerable, and you feel comfortable, and you do not share that particular vulnerability, Karen for good. Being a Karen isn't always bad. Sometimes being an involved busybody can be a good thing.
Right. No, the only problem with Karenness is the sense that it is the right to be a Karen is not equally distributed in society. But the goal should be that everybody feels empowered to ask to talk to the manager or ask what the hell's going on.
Ask what the hell is going on this month.
That is a great vibe to sort of end on. Ask what the hell is going on. I want to speak to America's manager right now.
Let's do it.
Well, Annie, Mike, thank you so much for being here. I feel just lighter having had this conversation. Looking forward to doing some Karening for justice in my community.
Absolutely. Great to talk with you, Bridget and Mike.
Good to see you guys.
Today, we've got a couple of shout-outs from CityCast DC neighbors. Diane M. wants to shout out Soul Food in Tacoma Park, which is Korean food that is mostly vegan. She says the flavors are amazing and that the pistachio cardamom cake is her favorite dessert in the city. I have to try that. It sounds delicious. Rindy O wants to call out a very cool event happening on September 14th and 23rd when the Capitol Hill Art League is hosting a 2-day art walk in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. It is free, and 110 artists will be showing off their arts and crafts. Taryn M wants to let y'all know that the ice cream shop Here's the Scoop on Georgia Ave near Harvard Street is so good. And that "so" has like 6 O's. The ice cream is cold and delicious, and the atmosphere is warm and welcoming. And they also sponsor local Little League teams. Want to share your favorite local business or nonprofit on the podcast? Just become a CityCast DC neighbor and send us your shout out. We'll read it right here. Join today at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And listeners, don't go anywhere, because in just a second, we've got Anna Claire Walker from District Bridges here to tell us all about Art All Night coming up, and hosted by our sponsor, District Bridges. It's a great time to be creative and feel connected to your community, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Annie Reese here with Anna Claire Walker from District Bridges. Hi, Anna Claire.
Hi, Annie. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Art All Night. Can you briefly describe what Art All Night is and has been over the last few years that you've done it?
Yeah, Art All Night is one of my favorite events that the city puts on. It's in all 8 wards. It's a festival that goes across 2 days, and until the wee hours of the morning, we're celebrating art in all of its forms. There's music, dancing, photography, painting, aerial arts, celebrating DC's culture of go-go. There's really something for everyone, and each neighborhood kind of makes it their own and celebrates what DC's art and culture scene means to them.
That's really neat. Art All Night has become such a beloved tradition in DC. Tell me more about this year's Art All Night in particular. What can people expect in each of the neighborhoods that District Bridges is supporting?
So District Bridges puts on Art All Night in 5 different neighborhoods: Logan Circle, U Street, Cleveland Park, Lower Georgia Avenue, and Mount Pleasant. Each one is a little bit different. Cleveland Park and Mount Pleasant are on Friday night, and Lower Georgia Avenue, Logan Circle, and U Street are on Saturday night. In the past, we have had a go-go truck on U Street, aerial dancers going across the street, theater performers, roaming, improvisers, live painters, and then, of course, our small businesses go all out with drink specials, entertainment, live music, all of that fun stuff. This year, things are feeling different as we plan the event. There's a lot of uncertainty. Some businesses have backed out saying, my staff and my entertainers don't feel safe. So as an organization, we're really trying to figure out how to navigate where DC is in this moment and how to honor the tradition and excitement that this event brings to the city. So it's a delicate situation to be in, and we're just staying in touch with our community partners and our small businesses to see, what we can do to put this event on safely and still provide an opportunity for DC to come together, because there is a group of people that want to do that right now. There's a lot of power in community organization and coming together to celebrate what DC means to us. But at the same time, we want people to be safe, and we don't want to assume that things that have worked in the past are going to work this year. So it's in process.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point to make, that we're obviously living in a moment where things are changing really rapidly, and it's hard to anticipate how things will be. District Bridges works closely with local businesses, artists, and residents year round, as you said. And I know that you're really in conversation with all of those people. And so, just speak a bit more, I guess, about how you balance keeping each event unique while still connected to the larger citywide celebration, and how you respond to a moment like this.
The different managers of the different programs, they're really invested in those communities, and they know what is special about each neighborhood. And so for the Cleveland Park one, last year they had a Cabinet of Curiosities kind of theme, and they had playing with the Art Deco architecture in the neighborhood, and they had a snake charmer and tarot cards and some really, really eccentric street performers, which were really fun. For U Street, it's all about go-go and the history of nightlife and jazz in the city. And Logan Circle is normally focused on our LGBTQ plus businesses. Last year we had a drag show. There are some local businesses in the Logan Circle area doing some art pop-ups that are focused on queer artists in the neighborhood. So each neighborhood kind of takes its niche and adds to the beautiful tapestry that is Art All Night. As I said, things are still in flux, but we're still hoping to put on a really high-level festival for the community. Another part of the District Bridges Art All Night that is unique is that we have our community navigation program in Ward 1. So yes, we support the small businesses, but our team of staff also supports our neighbors in the community that are experiencing housing insecurity or substance abuse disorder. And they also help out our neighbors who are in need of certain immigration documents and things like that. So as you can imagine, that's a very poignant program right now. So we've been collecting Metro cards and donations to that program. So they'll be present at Art All Night as well to answer questions and to get folks in the community involved with their program. So while we're celebrating art and we're celebrating the small businesses, our community navigation program will also be there to kind of raise awareness for what they're doing on the ground to try to keep our neighbors in need safe.
Well, Anna Claire, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always great to be on CityCast.
It's always great to have you. Again, you can check out districtbridges.org to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you'll be just a click away. Thanks for listening.
That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast neighbor. Just visit membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you soon.